We have all likely run into our fair share of bad D&D players over the years. So today we're going to be discussing 21 ways players ruin D&D games. Because, you know, it's just fun to talk about that crap. Number 1, not paying attention. Oh, wait, what? What's that? I attack. Yeah, phones, electronics, daydreaming, thinking about their girlfriend or boyfriend. I don't care. But yeah, players who just sit at the table and are oblivious to the game going on around them. Even worse, players who are playing a different game on their phone because, you know, I don't know about you, but I have had players who have been playing Candy Crush at the game table and, let's just say they weren't invited back for another game session. Like, if you don't like the game, that's fine. I don't have a problem with that. It might not be your cup of tea. I won't take it personally, but you don't gotta be here either. You could go somewhere else, have some more fun doing something you prefer instead of playing D&D, or maybe it's just my game that doesn't interest you. That's fine. But if you're gonna be here, if you're gonna play the game, please pay attention. Play attention. When you are oblivious and I have to re-explain stuff to you, it slows everything else down for everyone else who was paying attention. So please, just pay attention. Number 2, ignoring plot hooks like the plague. I have a player, John. No, he's not a player. I don't think he's ever been a player of mine. Yeah, he was a player of mine. I have a buddy, John, is what I was trying to say, and he was telling me how he once had a D&D group, and the players would ignore any sort of plot hook that he left them. Any sort of, hey, there's a mission, hey, there's something that needs to get done. They would, like the plague, like something horrible was going around that would kill them, would not do that thing. This is part of the often unwritten and unspoken social contract in D&D. The social contract that says that if the dungeon master has spent time and energy preparing a thing that you might go and do, that you should strongly consider going and doing that thing. We're not talking about railroading. We're just talking about the common courtesy of honoring the time that I spent preparing a game that might be enjoyable for you to play. I am okay with groups sometimes wandering off and doing their own thing, but then they get back and they go after the things, the plot hooks that have been dropped to them. I'm okay with that. There's always a time and place for going off and doing some random thing. That's part of what makes the game fun. But a group that always ignores the plot hooks and goes and does something else, I would probably drop a group like that in a heartbeat. I tell them, hey, I'm probably not the dungeon master for this game that you all seem to be interested in playing. So my recommendation is, I'm just gonna not be your dungeon master. You're welcome to find another dungeon master who wants to run the game that you want to play, but I don't think I'm a good fit for this. I go off and I find a different group. Whee! Number 3, making PCs that don't fit the structure of the game. I was guilty of this once. I made a character in a Marvel Universe game who was not super good at combat, was meant to be a sort of espionage, saboteur, sneak in, and get their way past the guards and then do stuff. Unbeknownst to me, my dungeon master, is probably a game master at that point, whatever they call them in the Marvel Universe RPGs. My game master had designed a combat-heavy game, and my character just did not fit in, and he got his butt kicked a lot, and I probably didn't enjoy it a whole lot. Now that's one thing if you just don't know, but there are players who intentionally go out of their way to create characters that will probably sabotage the game master's efforts to run an enjoyable game for everyone. Examples abound, but off the top of my head, the number one thing that I have heard horror stories of, fortunately never experienced it, is players who create characters who aren't adventurers. No, I don't want to go on those adventures. Those are dirty, nasty businesses, and they're very dangerous and people die. I just want to stay in town and hone my skills as a politician. I don't know, I think they're reading a different player handbook than the one I have that, you know, shows heroes with combat abilities and spells and swords and stuff. I don't know, maybe we're playing a different game. Oh, and then there's the classic character who is a dark loner, going off by himself, who eschews all contact with other adventurers and doesn't want to accompany them because, you know, dark loner reasons. Like, okay, well, you know, we have a game here that is a group game where you go off on adventures and usually you fight bad guys, and you guys are creating characters who don't want to do either of those things. Maybe this isn't the right game for you. Or you need a game master who's running a D&D game that doesn't involve fighting bad guys and doesn't involve being adventurers. I'm sure there are some of those that exist. Number 4, daring the dungeon master. You know, this is the player who pushes the dungeon master, those little things like that, maybe not to the dungeon master himself, but in the game world, just to see what the game master, what the game master is gonna do, and just to activate bad things. It's like a dare, right? Like, let's see if how many NPCs can I murder? How many buildings can I burn down? How many laws can I break? How many horrid things, weird, random, crazy things can I do just to see what's gonna happen in the game world? Now, I personally trend toward being a little bit of a problematic player, and I do things that are questionable at times and make things more interesting for everybody, but I probably don't cross that line too much. Number 5, not showing up, being unreliable. Like, if you just can't show up to the game, like, you know, you're constantly absent, or you're always running like a half hour to an hour to 2 hours to 3 hours late, and you just can't be there, and you don't communicate, you don't let people know what's going on, you're just completely unreliable, well, it sounds like your life is a little bit too busy for you to be playing in our D&D game, doesn't it? Sounds like you have more important things going on, which is fair because D&D is just a game, I understand that, but it definitely sounds like you got some other stuff going on that is way more important, or at least takes priority of this gaming group, and that's fine. But I think that also means that you probably just don't need to be in this gaming group. So we will show you the door and welcome somebody else into the gaming group who has time and desire to be here and play the game, and everybody will probably benefit as a result. By the way, if you're looking for 5th edition Game Master resources to reduce your prep time and help you run awesome games, my Layers and Legends Kickstarter is now live. And today is the last day to get in on our remaining early bird special and get yourself a nice discount. The Kickstarter will give you 2 beautiful hardcovers, Layers and Legends and Loot and Lore, containing 5e adventures, standalone encounters, new monsters, magic items, traps, puzzles, NPCs, villains, and more, all designed to be dragged and dropped into existing campaigns. Click the link below to back the Layers and Legends Kickstarter today. Number 6, not learning what their character can do. Who has had the player who has been in your game for 2 years and still doesn't know how their character works? They don't know that they get 2 attacks, they have no idea what sneaking around is, they have no idea what sneak attack is, or what their spells do, blah 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 blah, they don't know! Somebody is calling me. One moment. I have no idea who that was. Anyway, back to the video. Like, I am not asking you to be a super expert on everything your character can do. Like, looking up stuff, and spells are complicated. I look up stuff as the game master. I look up stuff when I'm a player. But there's a basic level of preparedness that helps the game. It helps the game not get bogged down. It helps the other players not get super frustrated. Helps your game master not get super frustrated. So, you know, put forth a little bit of effort to learn how stuff works would be appreciated. Thank you. Number 7, arguing with the dungeon master. Holy crap. Dude, I had a player once who wanted to argue about every rule in the game. Like everything. And here's the thing too. Let us say that his way to interpret the English language was not exactly very accurate. It's like the lawyer trying to twist around the meaning of words. Well, you know, adjacent doesn't have to mean next to. I don't know, stupid stuff like that. So we're here in the game session going back and forth, you know, having this discussion about rules and stuff. The other players are pulling off their cell phones, they're building dice towers. They're just like, okay, this is dumb. Could we just play the game? I don't mind it. I don't mind it at all. If I screw up a rule and you remind me of how it works, I'm fine with that. I'm cool, I forget, I make mistakes, that's not a problem. But when we look at the rule and I make a ruling and I decide that this is how we're gonna do it today, that's where it needs to end. Not just because to satiate my fragile ego or something like that, but it's so that the game can go on so that we can play the game. And then afterwards, shoot me an email. Let's figure it out more. Let's see if Mr. Crawford has a ruling or something. And then we can figure it out in more detail. But during the game, while we're trying to play, that is not the time to argue with me, please. That reminds me, I once had a player who tried to argue with me the definition of 5 feet. So check this out, for about a year and a half, we had been playing in the game with squares. And the definition of a 5-foot reach was you have to be in the square adjacent to you. Like, if the monster's adjacent to you, then you can actually attack it. And then out of the blue, this player's like, wait a second, it says I have a 5-foot reach. Well, that means that it should be 2 squares away. Like, the intervening square, that's 5 feet. And so I should be able to attack a monster that's more than just next to me. It's like a square away from me. It's like out of the blue. This dude wants to like reinvent how we've been using that rule the whole time. And why? Because he's a filthy power gamer and that's what they do. All right, I'm gonna calm down now. I'm gonna just, all right, let's go to the next one. Number 8, unrealistic expectations. Yes, you got the players who are like expecting you to run a game like what? Like some famous, like Matt Mercer or the Brandon Lee, the dude that runs the amazing, you know, it's like, yeah, why don't you put like the world's highest expectations on me, a dungeon master who's not that dude, doesn't have all of his skills, abilities, and I'm not like a professional voice actor and whatever and whatnot. Yeah, how about you not put those expectations on me, please? Because guess what? I'm probably going to fail utterly if those are the expectations of me as a game master. I'm gonna do my best. Like, I'm not gonna come in and be like all like, you know, sleazy, unprepared, and just winging it and all this stuff. I will do my best and I will try. That is what I pledge to you. But you can't expect me to be like X, Y, and Z other people. You just can't. The other annoying thing that sometimes happens is that players will have expectations, but they never tell you what their expectations are. And they could be upset about something and then they never tell you. They could want X, Y, and Z things to be changed in the game to make it better for them, but they never tell you. It's like they have these expectations, but you don't know what they are. They just expect you to read their minds. Number 9, not letting other players play the game too. I think this is what people are referring to as main character syndrome, where there's one player who thinks their character should monopolize all of the game time, constantly be talking, constantly be doing this, that, and the other, and never giving the other players at the game table an opportunity to, you know, I don't know, play the game too? Like, do you think they gather around the table just for fun to watch you play your amazing character, talk in your special voices, and do all of your awesome, amazing, cool stuff? No, they probably want to play the game too. So maybe you should stop and let them also play the game. Number 10, that's what my character would do. This phrase is the general catch-all for jackwad behavior amongst almost all characters, all players. Like when the player's like, I'm gonna attack another character, or when they're screwing the group over, when the rogue sneaks ahead, finds the chest, disarms it, picks it, opens it, and takes all the loot for himself, and then doesn't tell the other players. Yeah. Okay, sabotaging what other characters are attempting to do just for kicks. All sorts of jackwaddy behavior that is frowned upon and is only gonna piss off the other players. That's what my character would do, is their reasoning. And that's fair. I understand that you created a dear, precious character for you that would do all of those horrible, horrible things. And so my request, as your dungeon master, is simply that you get rid of that character and create a new character. A character that won't do things like that. A character that will get along with the group. A character that won't screw them all over. And a character that won't cause all of the other players to get pissed off at you. That's just my humble request. Thank you very much. By the way, if you're finding this video helpful, or at the very least helping to stoke your burning hatred of bad players, give me a thumbs up and leave a comment for the algorithm down below. Let me know about the worst player you've ever had in a game. Number 11, analysis paralysis. I was in a game once, I was a player, and like we sat there around the table for about 20 minutes, 30 minutes, I don't know, discussing the best way to go into a mansion. Like, here's the quest. There are walls, there are different doors, different entrances, there are windows, there's sewers underneath, all these different ways you could possibly go into there. And wow, did we have a discussion, a very thorough discussion about the benefits and disadvantages of each of those different options. And then we started going in circles, and then we couldn't make a decision. And I said, holy crap, let's just pick one. It probably doesn't matter. So yeah, just, you know, make a decision, play the game. I mean, it's okay to talk a little bit, but at some point, you gotta do something. Number 12, taking forever on their turn. Well, I could do that. Hold on. You know, that's a good spell too. Well, you know, maybe I don't want to cast a spell. Maybe I should move around a little bit or something. What do you think, Jim Bob? What do you think I should do? I mean, you know, you've played Wizards before and stuff like that. Yeah, thank you. Thank you for bogging the game down because you can't decide what to do. Thank you for bogging the game down because you don't know how your character works. Thank you! Thank you! Nobody wants to wait for you. We don't. Like, just make a decision so we can play the game. please. Somebody's down in the comments right now. Luke, you're so impatient. Look, dude, 30 seconds. Yeah, okay. But 5 minutes to make up your mind? There's a line somewhere that we need to not cross, just so that we can play the game at a reasonable pace and so that everybody else is not getting bored out of their minds because you can't decide what your character does on your turn. Not being that unreasonable, am I? Number 13, screwing around at the game table. I remember, this was a couple years ago, my youngling group. I was running a game for them, and they started basically just kind of screwing around at the game table, and they weren't taking the game seriously. We laugh and we have fun and stuff, but there's a difference between playing the game and having fun and screwing around and stuff, and then just totally screwing around. And they were totally screwing around. So I gave them a little example of how I could run the game if I were just not taking it seriously and just run it in a super dry, uninteresting manner. And then we had a discussion, and I explained that, hey guys, you know, if you would like me to put my heart and soul into running an awesome game for you guys, then all I request from you is that you don't screw around at the game table like this. You take a little bit of seriousness into the game, still joke, still have fun, still play and do foolish things, yes, but if you want my heart and soul, then I'm gonna need a little bit of yours. You gotta meet me halfway here. Number 14, power gaming. Power gaming is not the same as min-maxing. Min-maxing is just when you're trying to use the game mechanics to create the most powerful builds you can, usually referencing, you know, wonderful YouTube videos about, you know, feats and all these powers to make the most powerful character you can, or Reddit posts and stuff like this. That's min-maxing. Min-maxing is a thing. It's enjoyable for a lot of people. I tend to enjoy doing that too when I create characters. Power gaming, on the other hand, is way different than that. A power gamer is almost always a min-maxer, but they go above and beyond. They look for every way they possibly can to exploit game mechanics and make their PC even more powerful. For instance, the player I told you about who was arguing about the definition of 5 feet, that's a classic power gamer move because it allows them to then hit somebody that's even farther away with their longsword, or just failing to mention the drawbacks of certain abilities that you want to use. Let's say you want to use your monk ability to teleport from shadows to shadows. You just happen to forget to mention that it's some place you have to see. It allows you to teleport all over the place just because you want to. Those are the sorts of things power gamers like to do. I have a cold place in my heart for power gamers. I despise them. Number 15, cheating. One might argue that it ruins your own game experience to cheat, although the person doing the cheating probably feels like it's enhancing their game experience, but it for sure angers the other players in the Dungeon Master when they can see that you're clearly cheating. I had a player once who could never seem to roll below a 15. Like, never. And it was the most amazing thing. There was a pile of books to one side, there was some other stuff piled up over here, and then there were a bunch of pop cans in front of him. And so he had this little area right here that had walls around it. And it must have been the magic of these walls he had constructed that allowed him to always roll 15 or above. It was amazing. Number 16, denying the collaborative nature of the game. D&D is a group game, usually. So a player being selfish and not recognizing that the game will be more fun if they work with the other players and the Dungeon Master instead of just trying to get their own way and have the universe revolve around them is probably not gonna have a beneficial impact on the game. One of the very reasons people love games like D&D is that they're collaborative games where there is nobody that is a winner or a loser. Everybody around the table wins. When we work together and collaborate, we all have fun together. Technically, the Dungeon Master pretty much always loses because they always kill our monsters. They always do. Number 17, not respecting other players' characters. This is the player who tries to bully other players into doing certain things, or their character tries to bully their other character, or whatever, however you want to say it. But basically, the player is not letting the other player allow them to have fun in their own way. This is a way that a player could take away agency from another player. Now, I remember this one time. We had this monk in the group, and I was a player at the time, and the monk, she did not want to have any ranged weapons, ever. Like, we would constantly get into combats where, wow, it'd be really nice if you had a ranged weapon right now, wouldn't it? And she's like, I don't have any, and there's nothing I can do this round. And I'm like, I'm thinking, right? You're not pulling your weight around here, and you're making these combats way more challenging because you won't just get a bow or something. But see, I could only give her a suggestion. I couldn't control her. I couldn't make her get a ranged weapon. I might suggest, you know, this would make things easier for us if you had a ranged weapon, but I am not controlling her character. And I'm not going to bully her and try to coerce her into getting a bow. Even though, wow, wouldn't it be great if she had a ranged weapon? Number 18, not respecting the Game Master's campaign. This is the player who just wants to burn everything down they come across. They want to ruin everything. They want to kill every random NPC that happens across them in the game world. The Game Master usually spends a lot of time preparing to run the game, and all I'm asking is the players should respect that effort and be appreciative. I'm not gonna cry if you kill my super precious NPC, but man, I might make some nice consequences for you. Number 19, hiding in-character stuff from the Game Master. This could be something like not telling the GM what spell they are casting, making rolls without declaring their intentions, keeping secrets in general. Now, maybe you have had really bad experiences with Game Masters who are just there to screw you over, and you feel like you have to conceal those sorts of things. But a good Game Master is there to facilitate gameplay and make things more fun for you and the other players. A good Game Master is not there to be a killjoy and make the game less fun. And my suggestion would be that if you have a Game Master that you need to hide things from because you don't trust them and they have a reputation for screwing you over, maybe you need to find a new one. Number 20, excessive side conversations. Yeah, this is self-explanatory. Like, they're just off talking and talking and talking and side conversations and hello, I can't run the game if you guys are just all talking. It's even worse when you're online too. You ever be on Zoom or Discord trying to run an online D&D game and players are trying to have side conversations? Yeah, that does not work. Number 21, bad hygiene. I once went to a convention with my wife and daughter, and we went in line. We were standing in line at the D&D convention, gaming convention, to get our tickets and stuff and actually go in. And there was a dude in front of us that had such bad hygiene. Like, my wife and daughter got out of line and had to go stand over there because, you know, I would even say it's because of delicate sensibilities. Like, I wanted to throw up in my mouth. It was not good. So, you know, if you're gonna play in person, take a bath, you know, throw on some cheap cologne or something. I don't know. You do what you gotta do, but, you know, thank you. There's a game shop that I go to play at from time to time, and there are literally signs on the wall that say that patrons with bad hygiene will be asked to leave. So apparently this is the thing, and it really should not be a thing. Click on the screen now to learn about the different ways Dungeon Masters ruin games, or to become a Layers and Legends Kickstarter backer and take advantage of our last early bird discount. And until next time, demand a tithe of bacon from all bad players. That will redeem their souls, of course.